Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I hope it is good. I am the DJ Atomica, and we're not playing a game today. It has been some time since we've had a dedicated art stream, but it seemed like the right time because I have had one hell of a long work week, an unexpectedly long one. So, being that we're kind of in between games at the moment and I'm feeling a little bit exhausted and we started this painting last week, it seemed like the appropriate time to do another dedicated art stream. But, welcome in, everybody. I hope you're all doing well on this fine Saturday. It's about 1 o'clock where I am, which is why I started now. That's the usual schedule. And apparently, we're vibing out to some seemingly Majora's Mask esque music. So, the last time we were here, we were painting. I need to remember. I need to remember all the controls because I keep going back and forth between Clip Studio Paint and Blender. I'm also working on something in Blender. Yes, the final hours of day 3 as the moon is falling. The moon falls? No, I'm kidding. I know the moon falls in Majora's Mask. I've never played Majora's Mask. It's one of those old classics that I've never actually played. Same with Ocarina of Time, which, you know, maybe explains the consistency. I haven't played either of them. I haven't played a ton of Zelda games. I've only ever played through fully uh, Breath of the Wild, which is an absolutely gorgeous and amazing game. I love Breath of the Wild. And I think I've played some of the maybe beginning hour of Link to the Past. Long ago, my uncle has a Super Nintendo system and a copy of Link to the Past, and I tried playing that a little bit and did not do very well because I think I was maybe, I don't know, 10 at the time. In any case, I have not played the classic Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. They're good games if you're into action adventure games. I mean, I assume like I'm familiar with the vague gameplay loop of Ocarina of Time since it, was kind of the blueprint for a lot of other Zelda games that came after. I've seen a playthrough of Twilight Princess way back when I was into watching video game walkthroughs. And I really like the atmosphere of that game. Though apparently it was controversial when it first came out. I really liked it. So, to catch everyone up on what we have been painting, in case you missed it, we're painting a landscape. It's going to be sort of vaguely, not vaguely, it's going to be a sort of sci fi landscape, but I'm mainly focusing on this big mountain, which I'm drawing inspiration from Mount Fuji. Ignore some of the scribbles that I've already made on this reference image. I really like the shape of Mount Fuji, and so I wanted to take inspiration from that. Sort of this big cone volcano type mountain. I think there's an actual scientific name for these. And I'm fairly certain I learned it at some point in school, but it has since left me. Um, I want to say shield volcano? I don't know. Point is, I really like the shape of Mount Fuji, and so what we're going to be eventually doing is we're going to have this this Mount Fuji type mountain here, but with a big section carved out of it for buildings and sci-fi stuff on the inside. Now, what we've also worked out, what we've also blocked out in the previous stream is, first of all, some of the major cloud shapes that are going to be up here in the sky. I particularly like this one over here on the left. And yes, I did just need to hold out my hand to do the L thing. I always need to do that. And over here on the right, I am less sold on these particular shapes. This one in the back I think is fine, but I'm not sure what I'm doing up here in the front. If you look back at the reference image, you can see kind of the same idea. We've got, big fluffy clouds over here. We've got big fluffy clouds over here. And then we've got these kind of wispier, closer ones in the foreground. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those yet. I think I have that on a separate layer. I do, yeah. So we've also got, instead of... yeah, this is covered up. Instead of just leaving this as a lake over here, I wanted to bring this in and have more of a winding river that goes pretty much straight up to the base of the mountain. So you can see the beginnings of the block in for that. And then over here on the foreground land, we are going to have some buildings, and I think that might be the next thing we need to block in. I might be very loose with that now that I look at it. I don't want to commit too fully to what the shape of the building is going to be, or the shape of the buildings are going to be. But I do want to keep this sort of neat exclusion zone around the mountain where there's you can see there's kind of a line between where people are allowed to build and where they are not, because it's a significant site. And I wanted to sort of up the ante with that and put in a literal physical barrier. I'm not sure if I'll just leave this as a sort of wall of pillars, or if I would like to sort of futurize it a little bit and maybe make this into a monorail track, or like an actual train track. That could be good. And we've also got a little bit of a bridge here. I'm probably going to try and form that shape a little more carefully this time. So looking at what is on the to-do list right now, I'm sort of wondering if maybe this is enough of a block-in for us to actually start painting. Because I think we've got all the basic zoning done. I'm sure I'll make tons of tweaks as we go along. But in terms of things that I really want to include still, it's these buildings down here and maybe some refinement of the river. But that's all detail stuff that can happen in the final, well, maybe not the final rendering, but at least further along in the painting process. So I think we'll actually probably call the sketch done. And I'll just group these if I can remember where. I'm blanking. Am I not able to read? What's going on? Oh, I need to make a folder. That's what I need to do. That's what I need to do. And we'll call this just sketch. All right. We are being good. We are doing what we should. Now comes the next major decision. First of all, I will sort of have you down like that and on a multiply layer so that I don't lose track of you. How are we going to start? I think let's not get too crazy. Maybe I should just start with a sort of flat brush and start blocking in some of these major shapes. Random side note, did you see the nonsense about the eggs with jelly sandwich? I saw some of those messages popping up while I was getting ready, but I didn't go and read anything. What's going on? What are you crazy kids getting up to over there? Don't tell me I'm going to have to intervene. It's got to be something food related, right? Did Ender make an egg and jelly sandwich? All right, I want to be careful to try and preserve the shape of this mountain that I have so carefully constructed. Hear me out about making an egg and jelly sandwich, which I did make and just ate it. Okay, so you made an egg and jelly sandwich. I do have to intervene. Lord, are you feeling okay? All right, where I'm just really sort of laying out the basic shapes here. I'm not gonna keep this as the final silhouette, probably. Ender did try to stop me, and yes, I'm okay. It was all right, not something I'd do again, of course. Yeah, because it's an egg and jelly sandwich. What? How did this? How did this come about? Why would a sane person think that this was something to be attempted? Or perhaps I answer my own question. What is the impetus behind the egg and jelly sandwich? I mean, I'm sure to any non-Americans in the audience, it sounds just as absurd as the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The same question can be asked about pineapple pizza. Granted. So what's the answer? Why did you do it? Just to see? Where did the idea come from? I don't have the inventor of pineapple pizza in front of me here. I would probably ask the same question to them. But right now, what I have is the inventor of the egg and jelly sandwich. Curiosity, because strange combos can taste good. Granted, granted. I mean, look, anyone who's been around these parts for a while knows I have hardly a leg to stand on with strange food combinations. I have once made a video having to defend myself in the construction of, well, I'm not responsible for the construction, in the promulgation of a food that I had a lot in childhood and growing up, which was called Miracle Whip Chicken. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Miracle Whip, it is not the same thing as Cool Whip, or really most types of whipped topping spreads, because it is savory. It is effectively diet mayonnaise. I think I might have made this a little bit too dark, but that's fine. We can adjust that. This is more about getting Miracle Whip and chicken. Yes. So I grew up having this recipe. My parents would make this for dinner sometimes. It is effectively, you know, chicken breast topped with a mixture of Miracle Whip and grated Parmesan cheese. In retrospect, I think most of the flavor came from the Parmesan. But the Miracle Whip was not completely flavorless. So you sort of you spread that on top of the chicken and then you bake it for a little bit, enough to cook the chicken. And that's it. That's kind of the whole recipe. Oh no, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. There's also oregano. There's also oregano in the mix. Though of course I suspect that's interchangeable with any type of herb seasoning you can imagine. Interesting. Okay. Okay. So not completely absurd. Thank you. I appreciate that. You would not believe the strange stares and disbelief that I got from telling people about Miracle Whip chicken, which I would again like to point out was not my invention or even my family's invention. It is a recipe that we got from the back of a tub of Miracle Whip. So you're gonna have to thank the engineers over at the Heinz Corporation for that. I think it was Heinz anyway. I mean, I know it's currently manufactured by Heinz, but I don't know if they were the ones who originally owned. I can I can increase the brush size. I know they were the ones who own it now, but I don't know if Miracle Whip was originally owned by a separate company. I'm sure I used to. Miracle Whip was the apparently I do remember this. Uh, unveiled at the Chicago World's Fair of all places. So apparently this is the kind of thing that got you a booth at the Chicago World's Fair in like the 30s. Now, I've left the outline, the silhouette here, kind of rough and loose. I think I'm not going to worry so much about refining that right now. I can always come back in later and sort of clean up the lines of these silhouettes. Right now, what I think I'll do is just get some basic value sections going on here. Like, I think I'm pretty inevitably going to have to change the value of this section that I've made here. But you can see a common thing with landscape photographs and by extension landscape paintings is that the contrast decreases as you move into the distance further towards the horizon, right? So you can see like this is quite large. You can see down here in this area you've got some pretty deep saturated dark tones in contrast with some of the with very bright ones. But as you move towards the horizon, as you move further into the distance, the contrast narrows, and it narrows in the direction of the sky color. So a good thing that you can do to create a sense of depth when you are painting a landscape is to start the shadows in the distance lighter than the shadows in the foreground. Now, that's sort of what we're trying to build here. The sky is a little bit different because the sky isn't actually a shadow, really. It's just kind of actually, since this is on paper, I think I can leave us kind of gray. That might even be a little bit too dark. Sort of a bright gray. And we can work on blocking in the clouds next, I guess. Let's see, how do I want to attempt the clouds? Maybe this is actually something that should be done on its own, without the distraction of the mountain. I'm going to go with a very lightish gray. Is that even going to show up? It is. Okay. That's full opacity, full hardness, full brush density. I might actually bring the brush density down a little bit. Something like that. Now we can sort of start just filling in. I might even want to make this a little bit larger. We're just sort of making a bunch of little spheres of varying orientation and size to create that sort of cloud edge. And we can rough up this silhouette a little bit more later. That's fine. We can add more detail, uh, less, I don't know, spherical curve. And again, I haven't totally settled on a way of doing clouds that I fully like. Oh wait, actually, this might be getting ahead of myself here. I'm going to start this again later. I'm going to work back to front. I'm going to start with the most distant clouds and work my way up. So I'm going to start back here. Get that squared away. Or not squared. There's nothing square here. It's a cloud. If I ever saw a square cloud, I think I'd be rather alarmed, truth be told. So just kind of filling in with some shapes. That's all painting is, really. It's just filling things in with shapes. And occasionally, gradients. All right, now I've got that outline. I'm going to fill that in. And because we're on the bottom layer here, I don't have to worry about going over top of the mountain because we've got the mountain on a higher layer, which looks nice. Now, with this one over here on the left, wait a minute. What I should have checked is no. Okay, see, I almost played myself. I forgot that I do not fully have this on the canvas. All right, is there a way that I can perfectly align this? I think I've got it. Yeah, yeah, that's the ticket. And we're gonna begin roughing in this cloud over here. Just little puffs of kind of light circular strokes varying in size. Now these, because this is a cumulonimbus cloud, we can see this column is really sort of pushing up into the upper atmosphere. What I think I'm actually going to eventually wind up doing is making this more of like a wispy column than a puffy one. Sort of just like I'm eventually take the smudge tool and just sort of lightly drag some of these edges upwards with a sort of bristly texture until we get more. Well, I would say check the reference, but I deliberately changed this because I wanted the cumulonimbus column. So the reference won't help me on that. I'm going to have to get creative. I'm thinking that the wispiness would still carry over a lot to this sort of top flat part, but since it's hitting a barrier here, it would also sort of start to recoil and bunch up a little bit, I think. So I'm going to add a little bit more of that fluffiness to the very bottom there and leave the top edge relatively flat. Maybe that's the way. And of course, we can always change this later on. We are by no means locked in to a single choice. Always go back and change things. Now this is just getting the broad shapes of the clouds in so that we have something to reference later on when we go and further construct the shape, right? Because you can see some of these clouds are more in front of this back cumulonimbus column. And from that, we can deduce that later on we're going to have to come back and when we're shading these clouds, be a little more careful about, you know, we'll probably add some shadows along this edge and then re-add some of the brighter tones in this same sort of edge style each time we move a little bit further. And I am once again pushing off what I have to do with this upper right foreground cloud until later. I'm going to not think about that right now. But as it stands right now, here's our tonal landscape. Now from here, yeah, I think I pretty much have to bring down the value of this mountain. It's a little bit too dark for how far away and big it's supposed to be. So I'm going to start by selecting the color, raising up its value a little bit, maybe significantly, somewhere like there. And then I'm going to come in to the mountain layer. I'm going to alpha lock, if that is what they call it in this program. It has a different name in basically every program. It's like alpha lock or lock transparency or, yeah, lock transparent pixels is what it's called here. Preserve transparency, I've also seen it. And that way, when you paint, it's actually not going to change anything besides the colors of the pixels you already have. You cannot, for example, paint over here. If you go off, it'll just stop where you already have pixels. All right, I can make this a little bit wider so we can get this done faster. Right, okay. And that is the wonderful Sivari. Hello, C. How are you doing today? I hope the weekend is treating you well so far. We're just having a chill art stream here. Hello. What are you up to this fine, doing the math, afternoon? It's been good. That's good to hear. Saw you guys were doing some gaming yesterday. I don't, it just says just chatting on my shout out. So, what were you guys chatting about? I seem to recall you guys playing a video game. Were you chatting about the video game, perchance? Now, one of the problems with doing it this way is that even in the reference, there's not a clear boundary between foreground and background. Like you can see that the contrast is lower and bluer in the background, but it's kind of a gradual transition from back there to up here. So maybe that's something we should attempt as well. We were yapping for a bit. Gotta love it. One of life's great pleasures. Simple but great. It's just sitting there yapping with some friends. How do I want to do this? I think maybe another layer. All right. Now, before I get ahead of myself, I promised myself I would be a good boy and do the proper things you're supposed to do and organize and label all of your layers. So let's call these bar clouds. Let's call this mountain silhouette. I think I spelled that right. It's French. And then this will be mountain multiply. We're going to multiply some darker tones here in the foreground. I think I'll do. Well, let's see. Oh my God, that works definitely. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring down the opacity. I'm gonna bring down the hardness so we can kind of make this into an airbrush. Yeah, that's kind of what we're looking for here. Gotta be careful. Don't want to go overboard. And I think maybe I pushed that a little bit too far into the distance. Maybe something that a ways. So now we start getting into the question of what we're going to do with the buildings. I'm eventually going to have to stop putting the buildings off. I think that looks good. That creates a sense of scale and distance. The nice thing about using a multiply layer, I guess I should be more explicit for anybody who doesn't know what I'm doing here. A multiply layer effectively darkens the layers beneath it. It is something that you can apply any color to. So for example, if I switched back over to this red, you can see it's darkening and reddening the pixels beneath it. So this sort of thing is very useful for I think actually if I just select this, I should be fine. It's very useful for adding shadows because if you just have a multiply layer with some, dark tone on it, like I'm just using the same tone as I have on the mountain here, it will make those pixels even darker beneath it, and you can turn it on and off just by making the layer visible and invisible. So it allows you to non-destructively add shadows to your painting that you can adjust or even remove later on. So like I could, by adjusting the transparency of this layer, I can make the shadows more intense or less intense where I've painted them. So far, I think I like how that looks, though I might have to bring down the intensity later on if it suits me. But again, I distract myself. We need to start thinking about buildings. So let's start. Buildings are going to be interesting because I'm not sure how I want to handle. All right, well, this tone is clearly going to need to change later, but for the time being, let's just worry about shapes. Actually, no, let's not put it off. Let's make sure we have the proper tone. If I'm worried about this, I'll just I'll stash this color up here. I'm basically done with that palette anyway, so we can just start new. All right, we'll stash this color up here so that we don't have to worry about losing it. I'll get a very dark tone just so that I can start chipping away at some of the building details. Well, maybe this is how we can create uh, some foreground interest, is by having some distinctive building shapes here in the foreground. Now, because we're sort of taking this view from what is clearly up above, fairly high altitude, the only buildings that would make it up here are fairly tall ones to make it back into our vision. So I'm thinking sort of skyscrapery profiles would be called for here. Maybe, I don't know, that kind of happened by accident, but I kind of like the two-prong shape. And again, this is just sort of a rough shape here. We're going to clean up all of these shapes later. Deciding maybe go with a little bit of asymmetry there. Right, and that we can use to sort of create some visual interest here in the foreground, while also making it so that we don't have to painstakingly render every building down here in the background. Now, the further back we go into the background, the more the more buildings we're going to have to place, but the less detailed we have to be in their rendering, which is a nice advantage for us. I think I'm just gonna, toy around with this shape a little bit till it gets to something that I think is cool looking. No, that's overcomplicating it. I want maybe a bit more there. Clean up these edges. I worry I'm getting lost in the details here. It might not be the time for that. Another nice thing about the way that we've set this painting up is that most of what's happening down here in the bottom left-hand corner is just water. So we're not going to have to paint any buildings there. Let's think about what we would have here on the coast of this major river leading into a major site of importance. I feel like we would have some piers or docks here. So let's, oops, I'm erasing. Let's see if we can't block some of that in. Now, again, we sort of have to make a decision here on how big these things are going to be. Let's take a look at the reference again. As we get further into the distance, these things are going to be quite small. But up here, near the foreground, I mean, even this little offshoot here, it's fairly large. So if I made the dock like, well, I would need to remember what a dock actually looks like. It's sort of square. Kind of stretching out here into the distance. The profile would narrow as it got further away, just a little bit. And as we get closer, it's going to spread out. So this would be hypothetically where they gather, or where the ships would actually tie. I don't know if there's going to be ships. I'm just sort of adding a dock because it feels like something that should be in water. I don't see why there wouldn't be ships. You got spaceships, why not have water ships? long as they're not down, it should be fine. And then see, I've extended this dock a little bit this way. Maybe I should do the same in the other direction. And maybe just sort of taper that out. That shape seems weird to me. I want to... Hmm. I think that might be what I have to do. Let's add a little building here. Just sort of the impression of a building. Something kind of like that. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That's vaguely dock-like. Now, how many of these do I want to have on the banks of this river? I think maybe I'll add another one. You know what? Why make it harder on myself? Let's just do a copy paste on that. So I'm going to be sort of repeating this shape. Let's just make it smaller. Whoops, that's not what I need to do. That's what I need to do. Have you kind of just be there. And then we can adjust with the liquify tool. Get you looking proper again. And then since this goes off frame in the original version, I do need to sort of elaborate what this looks like on the end there. Maybe I'll bring you around. And then I'll maybe... I wonder if it might be prudent to flatten this out a little bit. Because we're closer to the horizon, which means perspective is going to demand let's be a little more flat. Yeah. Okay. That's not bad. I don't think I'll add any more docks on this side, but the other side... Let's see. Let's see how it looks on the other side. Let's add a couple more of these. Oh, yeah, no wonder. Need to copy that one. Go for that, and then I'll flip horizontal. Bring you over here. You're actually going to be even farther away, so maybe something like so. How does that look? It's hard for me to see with the checkerboard pattern, but yeah, I think that broadly works. So let's just change you up a little bit. Yeah, you can sort of imply that there's something being blocked there. I can do, well, I could hypothetically do the same thing. Merge with below, merge with below. You're all sort of the buildings, that's fine. And then I think I like that for the time being. What we also want to avoid is making too much unnecessary detail that would distract the viewer from the main point of focus, which is the mountain. That's too wide. So I don't want to go overboard with adding a bunch of detail here. At least not at first. What in the world? Oh no, wrong tool. So in the interest of keeping the viewer undistracted, maybe this is kind of where we leave things for major buildings on this side. Or maybe, Again, I'm not being responsible with my values here. So let's grab you. Maybe something like that. It seems like something I would be comfortable using. I need lighter values for these structures in the background. That's way, way too bright. I can't see that at all. Maybe split the difference. Yeah, all right. I can work with that. Go a little bit darker for this one. And then the one most in the foreground stays basically the same. Although it should not be exactly the same as this one. I should raise this up a little bit. Because it is down here, rather than being right up close next to the viewer. Now, these antenna shapes are kind of starting to bother me because they are a little bit too skewed. Trying to make these a little bit more uniform, a little bit cleaner. Oh, I don't like the bottom of, but I do like the top of that shape. No, go back. Oh, I'm sorry, I still have this on alpha lock. Yeah. That seems good. If I take the sketch away, okay, we don't see the river or the wall, but that's looking pretty good in terms of basic layout. I want to figure out, is there any other shape that I can make in the pseudo foreground here that will satisfy me? Morning, how's it going? I'm doing pretty good, Kixie. How are you doing today? I am deciding how much of this painting I should be doing detail for, because we are painting today. We are continuing with a painting that we started at the end of last stream, because we'd finished Stories from Soul. Thank you for the shout out, of course, of course. Everybody go check out Call Me Kixie. They do a lot of analysis and playing of indie games. They're a good watch. I am desperately trying to figure out what the hell I am doing here, because I can't decide I feel like it's a mistake to... No, I shouldn't be doing this on this layer. But yeah, how are you doing today, Kixie? How is the weekend treating you? How is Saturday treating you? I suspect it's latter part of the morning where you are. So, is breakfast on the table for today? Pardon the pun. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. All right. I need to not be looking over here right now. Let's worry about the opposite side of the bank. Yeah, so what I'm sort of doing now is I'm painting major buildings. Landmarks that I want to be particularly noticeable in the final composition. I don't think I want a ton of those. But let's think. Let's not work mindlessly. What are we building here? What would that reasonably demand of the architecture? We're building a place that is very close to a site of great importance. What sorts of buildings would they have? They might have some tall buildings here or there, but I feel like they would go pretty non-extravagant. Yep, gotta go grab my burrito here in a bit. That was me slapping the table, doing bongos with the table. Did you let me rephrase the question. What sort of burrito are you having for breakfast? A breakfast burrito is a very versatile thing. Me, I'm a purist, or I suppose you could call me a normie. I just kind of like eggs, cheese, and some kind of meat. Beyond that, anything else is gravy. Although, crucially, not gravy. I don't think I would want gravy on a breakfast burrito. Gravy is not a breakfast thing for me. In my head, gravy is it's not even a lunch thing. Gravy is a purely dinner thing in my head. It's maybe because I only ever have it very occasionally for like big dinners like Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff like that. I was put Tabasco on mine. I guess that's a kind of gravy. It's a very thin gravy. Oh, we have an ad coming in 3 minutes, everybody. Brace yourselves. Take whatever precautions you need to avoid that. Gravy is not breakfast? Okay, no, hold on. You bring up a fair point. What about biscuits and gravy? First of all, to anyone from the British Isles. Oh, hold on. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I'm allergic to the British. To anyone from the British Isles, biscuits and gravy sounds absolutely insane. But you're right. In America, we call biscuits and gravy slightly different things, and it is sometimes served for breakfast. It's like a sausage gravy. Or yeah, no, it's usually sausage. It's a kind of savory thing to have for breakfast. It's hold on, actually, now that I'm I'm working. I'm getting it. I'm thinking this one goes over on the opposite bank. Yeah, biscuits and gravy is definitely a kind of very American thing. Um, where do I want you? I want you like there-ish. Yeah, that looks cool. Nope, can't do it. Really? You can't do biscuits and gravy? That's interesting. What's okay? Is there something about biscuits and gravy that sort of puts you off, Lordling? Something that you just can't stomach about it? Is it literally just the gravy? I'd believe you. Excuse me, I'd believe you if you told me that, but I want to know if there's deeper philosophy behind it. I love it. Biscuits and gravy. I mean, I do. I don't get the occasion to have biscuits and gravy very often. It's kind of like it's almost a diner food. It's very popular in the South of the United States. Makes me feel too heavy. Like I don't want to do anything after eating. Doesn't feel right to eat in the morning. That's fair. It's the breakfast. I guess it depends on what sort of feeling you want to be left with at the end of your breakfast. Some people, I suspect, want to feel like super packed and full of calories, um, but it also might make people feel sluggish. Yeah. I suppose it would depend on how your body personally reacts to uh, huge amounts of food entering your stomach. I guess you could just have one biscuit and gravy. You could have not biscuits and gravy, but biscuit and gravy. But then again, the gravy, specifically the kind of gravy used in biscuits and gravy, is a very like flour based gravy. I think this might be a good portion of today's stream is getting these buildings to look right. A flour based gravy is pretty much inevitably going to be heavier than something else. I mean, I did eat 4 eggs, 6 pieces of toast, and some bacon like 30 minutes ago, so I don't think it's the portion size. All right, you raise a good point. So, do you think it really is just the fact that it's gravy? Maybe it's like psychosomatic, like you know that it's gravy, and so it doesn't feel right. I don't know. Maybe it's like maybe you're like psyching yourself out. Hmm. Well, I'm making this building a little bit too thick. And again, oh, hold on. What am I doing here? I don't know, but I think it looks cool. All right, let's see where this goes. Let's see where this takes us. Kind of this weird fan radiator thing going on here. I don't know if this is good, but let's see this. What am I doing? What is this? I don't know if I can symmetrize that by hand. Let me try. Let me try doing it by machine. Copy paste. We're gonna flip you. Something like that. Get you over here. Huh. That's a weird look. Not gonna lie, that's a little bit weird. Hmm. Evening all. Evening, Baw. Hello, hello. How are you doing today? I saw that you were doing some art earlier today as well. It is an art kind of day, it seems. I appear to have invented a very strange top of a building. I don't know if I'm going to keep this necessarily. Thank you. Oh, it's my pleasure, of course. Gotta shout out Bob Bunny, fantastic artist. Go check him out, everyone. They make really nice designs. Unlike what I have apparently stumbled upon with this building, which I can only describe as radiator core? Coral core? Coral, if you will. I don't know if I like that. A neat experiment, but I think probably not. Do be an art kind of day for sure. Been doing laundry, just waiting for it all to dry so I can have some fresh bed linen. That is an absolutely wonderful feeling. Fresh sheets, fresh pajamas. Really just freshly dried. Oh, hello, how did I do that? Freshly dried anything is a real treat. Especially after a long day or a cold day. Fresh, warm sheets. Yeah, it. Well, I guess it depends on the season, right? Because if you're in the dead heat of summer, I like the cool sheets. Speaking of cool, I like that design a lot better. I like how that looks. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool sheets for the win for sure in summer. Yeah, it's I mean the overarching logic is pretty consistent. We just want to not feel extreme temperatures when we are in bed, I think. That would be my guess as a student of humanity and member of it. I think that's probably the cause. Now, it is somewhat difficult to get good horizontal edges with this brush because it's a little bit, you can see it's a little bit tilted. I found out not too long ago, apparently there's cooling mattresses. Not sure how the science behind it works, but it stays cold, kind of cracked. How would that work? I mean, all right, here we go. You're giving me a chance to pull out my degree. So every material in the world has a certain thermal conductivity, which means that it is more or less conducive to spreading heat or absorbing heat or just transferring heat in general. And it's the reason why you can pick up a piece of metal that is at room temperature. Like it's just been sitting in the room for, God knows how long, but you can pick up a piece of metal that's at room temperature and it feels cold because it is very thermally conductive. It is wicking heat away from you very quickly and you can sense that. And that's why it feels cold to you. So my guess is that whatever mattress that is, it's just got a really high thermal conductivity. That it's really good at moving heat away from whatever it's touching. And I think you need to be taller. Just so that we're not intersecting with these. Right? Because we don't want either of these shapes to sort of end at, I'm pointing to my screen like you can see it. We don't want either of these antenna shapes to end at the silhouette of the mountain, because that just sort of creates visual confusion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this even further up and while I'm at it. Nope, 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 don't want that. I want that. I'm actually going to make it a little bit wider. Just make it a larger shape in general. Is that why canned soda always tastes way colder than bottled, even when refrigerated? Because I swear the metal be making that soda taste so much more crisp. Unironically, it might be. Because I'm fairly certain that's part of the intentional design of aluminum cans, is to sort of aid in thermal conductivity. Now, the downside to this is that if you take a can of soda and put it in the sun, it absorbs heat faster too, because the aluminum can absorb the heat just as fast as it can expel it, and you get kind of a double-edged sword in that respect. And it's Jazzmanian. Hello, Jazz. Welcome. How are you doing this fine morning? We go back to the computer, back to the lab again. Welcome back, Lord. Welcome back to the computer. I do love the computer. I think for mattresses, it's like a cooling gel in them. That would make sense. I've been wanting to get someone cooling sheets for forever. I can definitely imagine a gel having a high thermal conductivity. That's definitely a thing that can happen. Gels are kind of weird, generally. You can get all kinds of behavior out of gels, especially if you're, deliberately designing the gels. I hate how low-key the canned soda is almost as much as bottles, though, for less than, but, like, you can just taste, it just tastes so much better. Oh, for, like, less material, yeah. Material. Less soda. Yeah, so the thing about bottles is you can't really find them here in America anymore. We don't have a ton of bottled soda. You can find them, like you can get them, but it's significantly more rare than standard aluminum cans. And I hope I'm not angering you too much with my pronunciation of aluminum. Hi was lurking while munching on lunch. Ooh, what are you having for lunch? What's lunch today? It's the ghost of lunch tomorrow. Now there's a reference. What the heck? I didn't know. Lifelong goal. I so far throughout the years have upgraded my sleeping gear to a weighted blanket and curved pillow for my head and neck to be supported. I used to have one of those like sculpted memory foam pillows back in the day. I don't know. Maybe I should go back and try and get one of those. Lurking, but have a wonderful stream, boss. Thank you so much, Maddie. Thank you for the lurk, and I hope you have a wonderful day as well. Bottled soda is very rare in comparison. I agree. It's a lot of imported goods that's bottled still. Yeah. So for a period of time, I'm just gonna keep scribbling out random building shapes and see what we like at the end. For a period of time, my dad got on a soda vending machine kick. Like I don't know, I guess he had finally like built up enough disposable income where he could, start pursuing this as a hobby. And he just got like a bunch of, he's kind of started trying to turn our basement into a like kind of like an arcade vibe. It's not a finished basement, it's an unfinished basement. But he just got like a pinball machine, a table bowling machine, a skee ball machine, and he got these like these two old style soda vending machines, and he specifically went out of his way to go and get, old style bottled Coca-Cola to put in them. Cans are huge here, like they're very thin compared to what they used to be. Not sure if you'll have those. Mini soda cans? Not sure what material mine is, but mine is quite literally curved without having Slept on. Oh, sorry, the pillow. We're back on the pillow. I thought we were talking about like soda cans. I was like, why in the hell are you sleeping on the soda cans, Ba? That's not what they're for. Okay, I'm back up to speed. Without having slept on, like it's pretty solid and has a dip down from my head and it rises from my neck. Yeah, I think we're talking about the same thing. I think we're talking about the same thing. That is a cool dad moment. Yeah, it was a neat era in my dad's hobbies. Nowadays, he's into volcanology for some reason. Like he's really into volcanoes. He knows he watches the active live feeds for like active volcano eruptions going on in the world, and he like knows them all, and he knows the terms for the volcano stuff. It's been really interesting to watch. He has no like formal training in geology or anything. He's a guy who's worked in the film industry his entire life, but for whatever reason, in the past few years, he's just gotten onto volcanoes, and he's really like passionate about it, and it's great to see. Truly, not many, but small. Okay, yeah. Say it's mostly because bottled drinks are usually larger, 1.5 and 2 liters, while canned drinks are smaller and more varying for whatever purposes. This is true, Matcha. Also, hello, Matcha. Welcome in. It's good to see you again. I hope you're doing well on this fine Saturday afternoon. Yeah, in America, we do have bottles. They're plastic bottles, and they're big. They're, like they say, about a liter and a half to 2 liters. Whereas we usually get our single serving personal soda in the aluminum can size. But I do love the mini ones too. See, okay, I'm also playing a little bit behind here because I don't drink soda, so I kind of just have to rely on secondhand knowledge. I don't know what I'm doing with this building here. Am I doing something with this building here, or am I simply just praying that something will come to me as I start messing with shapes? This feels very aimless. Like, what is this even? I don't know. Maybe, okay. Maybe we go this a ways. I sent a DM for the tall cans. All right. Are the building shadows or foreground? They're going to be foreground. I'm sort of just trying to block out some shapes that I think look nice. Oh, wow. Okay. I see. This is like a Monster can or like a Red Bull can. We do have these. We do have these sorts of size in America, but only for very specific drinks. It's quite strange now that I think about it. Yeah, most of the soda that we get comes in the smaller, stouter cans. But yeah, hello. I hope you're doing. I hope you're faring well as this mighty, powerful figure in the lower left corner. The lower left corner is our art. I guess familiar. This is a little penguin. That Liza sent me an image of way back. I think I was. God, when was this? This might have been like Cyberpunk days. I forget. Um, but they just kind of stayed on the painting screen, and now they're our little helper. Yeah, like all soda turned that years back, and I don't see wide anymore. Yeah, the wide ones are still what we have. You can tell because America is at least 5 to 10 years behind everyone else. Yeah, we still have the wide ones. We still use that for the majority of our soda cans. But some of them, like energy drinks for some reason, come in the taller ones. Which I don't actually know if there's like, is there a difference in amount of liquid in each one? That doesn't say. But like this also doesn't say. It doesn't say how much liquid is in each one. Whatever. uh this familiar looks incredibly powerful. His boons must be very beneficial. Hey, look, uh I haven't lost a painting yet. What does it mean to lose a painting? I'll leave that up to you to decide. The tall, thin ones make me feel fancy. I mean, it is. Trying to picture. Yeah, because it feels more like. Okay, this feels weird to say, but like, it feels more like a champagne glass. If that makes any sense, like sort of tall, thin glasses that you might see in a cocktail, or maybe a champagne glass. It kind of. I don't know why. I don't know why it gives me that impression, but it does. I'm going off of extremely vague sense memory association here. Yeah, it feels more sophisticated. The one I sent, the tall one, is 33 centiliters, I'm assuming. Let me convert. Let me do a conversion. I don't have... Because... All right, the imperial system, once again, striking and doing things weird. We have fluid ounces. 2 centiliters, or maybe it's the other way around. So if it's 33 centiliters, that's roughly 11 fluid ounces in imperial units. Yeah, American fluid ounces is the official one. When I pour my soda into a glass of ice, yes, fancy. Yeah. Like they do in the commercials. I want to know how much of our like food prep habits and food serving habits has been influenced by commercials. You guys, I found this out the other day. That's why the meme, for lack of a better word, of rabbits eating carrots came from Looney Tunes. They like the rabbits don't especially like carrots. That's just a thing that Bugs Bunny did because he was mimicking an actor. He was parodying an actor who liked to eat carrots as part of his like comedic bit. But that then became associated with Bugs Bunny, and then it became associated with bunnies in general. And so now so now we just feed rabbits carrots, and it's not great for... Yeah, no, it's effectively like feeding rabbits dessert. It's got so much sugar, for a rabbit anyway. As far as sugar content goes, you could do a hell of a lot worse than carrots in your diet. All right. What am I... I feel almost like I should be tapering you a little bit towards the ground to try and make it seem like we're looking down on you a little bit. What I read is that rabbits have excellent eyesight, and we associate carrots with good eyesight, so they got put together. It could be that too. It could be a multitude of things now that I think about it. Lots of commercial has paved our way for being... Hold on. Lots of commercial has paved our way of being from as early as the 60s or 70s. Honestly, I'd push it even earlier, but yeah, definitely since at least then. All this soda talk makes me want to have soda. I only have ginger ale. That's a kind of soda. What do rabbits eat then? Like cabbage, fruits? Like grass. Unironically, they eat grass. Like hay, grass, general sort of fibrous cellulose plants. Cabbages, leafy greens are also very popular. I guess you can call grass a leafy green. Is grass a leaf? This is not where I expected to be going for this conversation or for this stream. Is grass a leaf? Hay, grass, pellets, and then fruits and veggies. Yeah, fruits and veggies are like the treats. All food related. Yeah, yeah. It always devolves into a food conversation with me. You'd think because I had eaten lunch immediately before streaming, it wouldn't go like this, but does that mean people have to buy store-bought grass, or do they just put their bunny outside to eat? Depends on, I guess, the way that you do it. I've seen outdoor bunnies. I've seen indoor bunnies. My sister had rabbits throughout all of our growing up, and you would just buy like pre-packaged hay and feed hay to the rabbit. Which in retrospect, I feel like it would not have been difficult to raise our own grass to give the bunny. I don't know why we did that. Media is influenced by and influences culture. It's a weird feedback loop. So is life. Life is all about feedback loops. I talk about food a lot. So do I, apparently. Give them your dandelions. Yes, rabbits love dandelions. This is a thing that was true even when we had rabbits. It was they do adore dandelions. All right, now for some of these, I want to get some taller buildings down here, but I wonder if I almost want to make that. Hmm. I'm wondering if I want to run a quay along most of the riverfront. At least at least one side of it. Considering rabbit hutches used to always be outside or in a backyard, you could just feed them your own grass like a chicken? Hmm. I don't know. I'm not a rabbit care expert, but I don't see why not. I mean, if they eat grass, then it's grass. Also, yes, grass blades are leaves. Fascinating. Then yeah, grass is a leafy green. That would count. Why didn't we just feed the rabbit grass? I'm thinking about the number of times that we had to go into a grocery store and buy hay. Why didn't we had a big yard. We had like an acre of grass in our backyard. Why didn't we just feed the rabbit our grass? We didn't treat it with pesticides or anything. It was totally natural grass. Why were we buying hay? I'm I'm legit a little bit miffed about this. I think dandelion tea is a thing. So can humans also eat dandelions, right? Or am I thinking of a different flower? I feel like I remember dandelion tea being a thing. I guess dandelion tea is a thing. Dandelions are good for us to eat, and their greens can be cooked or in a salad too. Right, I have heard of dandelion greens in salad. Yeah, so I guess we can eat dandelions, at least in some degree. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, don't quote me on that. DJ getting upset by past logistics. Had free food in the backyard. It's literally like the what's that thing of like unwrapping or like unpeeling a banana and then putting the unpeeled or putting the peeled bananas in plastic wrap and selling them at a store. It feels like one of those aspects to me. Even the stems, I guess. I'm I'm worried now. I don't want to like accidentally poison someone with dandelions. Do not take nutrition or medical advice from me. I am but a humble streamer. So stop killing your pretty dandelions and eat them. Double check all of this information, but if it's all correct, then yeah, I guess. Y'all ever like chew your leafy greens like horses do just for the experience, see what it's like? Or like sort of like the camel jaw rotation, you mean? Like how camels will just that's there's no way my model's tracking that. You need to be shorter. He said to the painting, "Nobody, I'm not talking to anyone in the audience. You are perfect just the way you are." But this building needs to be shorter so that we're not intersecting with another piece of geometry here. Yeah, the rotating chew, the sound effect. I think you can technically eat the stems, but I tried eating them as a kid and they were not yummy. Yes, not a doctor. Please do not take medical or nutrition advice from people on the internet. Go talk to your doctor or your nutritionist. If you have a nutritionist, congratulations. The horizontal chewing, yeah. I read the dandelions are good in general, except for its seeds. I'm neither a doctor or herbalist. Yeah. Herbalist also not to be found here in chat, unless somebody is a secret herbalist and they never told me. Can't wait to go back to the doctor and ask if I can eat dandelions in my yard. I mean, if it works. You're telling me twitch.tv is not the place for medical and health advice? Joke. Yeah, I would not trust anything that you hear on Twitch, frankly. Wash them. This is good advice for vegetables in general, yeah. All right, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to experiment with adding a key or like sort of a structure along the bank of the river here and see. Do I like that? Not sure what I want to do with. No, I don't like that. We'll keep it as is. So, I'm gonna need to eventually start painting in some impression of detail in the buildings here. I wonder if just like if I should just get kind of a toothy brush and just start like swiping down. I feel like I need one more thing like this-ish area. I was taught to always wash my fruits and veggies due to bugs or dirt it could still have on it. Yeah, I mean, like, they're vegetables, they're plants, they grow in the earth and out in the open. Just take proper precautions and you should be all right. Cabbage tends to hold on to a lot of dirt in the crevices, so I always wash those sorts even more thoroughly. Yes, and also, I'm pretty sure cabbage, but lettuce definitely, it grows on the ground. Anything that grows on the ground or in the ground, it's touching dirt through all of its growth. Yeah, you got to be careful about that. I think I might try and pull a funny and push this building a little bit further into the distance by just brightening the value a little bit. Yeah. Okay. That looks good. So with this guy over here, you also need to be see, devalued. It feels like the wrong thing to call it, but you need to be a little bit brighter. Here I am devaluing my painting. I've seen a few ladybugs on the lettuces, which was like, wow, hi there, but also, wow, jump scare because bug. It's like, hello, you're very cute, but you cannot be in my food. That is a dangerous place for you to be, both for you and for me. So, please leave. At least it's the cutest bug. I think we can pretty definitively say that ladybugs are the cutest bugs, right? That feels uncontroversial to say. All right, so you're back there. You're sort of there. I think I want to be a little more precise with these buildings in the foreground here. I'm going to, instead of hand painting these, I'm going to use this as a base, and I'm going to lasso these guys. So let's zoom in a little bit. I would argue that the green little caterpillars are the cutest. Oh, the classic archetypical. Hello? Why are you not? Oh, no, not. Hi, sorry. I'm on lasso, not polyline. That's what's messing me up. Like the fuzzy ones, yeah. Boop, 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 boop. And then we can bring you up like that. I need to be even closer for some of these details. Bring in like that and up like that. In and up, out. And boom. Wait, oh, me when I find slugs? You're finding slugs? That's a bit more hardcore. Ladybugs unfortunately jump scare me still because it reminds me of a house bug we have in Sweden I don't like. But I can agree that the aesthetic of a ladybug most def is cute. If it wasn't for like my own personal experience of the liking being similar to another bug. What kind of I don't okay. I'm not familiar with Sweden's native insect fauna. Um, but apparently there is a bug that looks like a ladybug there. I had no idea. Snails. Snails are cute. Yeah, we like snails in this here house. Boom. I'm actually gonna bring you out a little bit. And maybe no. Further down. Boom. 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 All right, I think we're at the beginnings of a cool looking antenna here. Maybe bring you down like that. Boom. Boom, boom. All right. I don't find them as often, but we grow a lot of our own veggies too. Also buy some, so it's a gamble. Yeah, see, you're smart. You don't buy the grass. You grow the grass yourself and also buy the grass. But I guess we need to. We're switching over music tracks. We have gone from cosmic ambient soundscape to existential cyberpunk atmosphere. All right, we've even got some rain sounds in the back. That's nice. It's a type of beetle, very, very small. Like imagine a ladybug, but brown, and they scare me so bad. Oh, no, I think I do know those. Interesting. I don't buy the grass. You do not. You're smarter than that. Oh, man. I clicked off to change the music and it got rid of my selection. Damn it. Maybe. No. No, it's not going to be that kind. All right, fine. We'll do it all again. You win this time, Clip Studio Paint. When I had a dog and more cats, my mom would use it as manure for her garden. I think we did the same thing with the rabbits, now that I think back on it. It's there. You gotta move it around anyway. Oh no. Oh no. This selection is gonna be the death of me. All right. Instead of trying to do it all at once, let's just try and simplify it. Let's do it in sections. Let's go over here, and then up, and then over. Yeah, all right. It's a common house bug. Like if you have problems with that, it's those beetles or flies or silverfish that is Sweden's common house infestation, I'd say. Okay, yeah, we've got some silverfish. We've got some beetles here. I mean, America's a big place. There's a lot of different biomes. So you kind of can't accept any single generalization, but yes, we do have beetles of this kind. Oh no, I've erased too much. Give me that. Huh? No, you. What is this guitar riff? That's cool. All right, how does that look zoomed out? It looks okay. I'll take that. My life changed when I found out America has something called house centipedes. Not sure if it's everywhere, but I knew someone who had it. Oh, yeah, we've got house centipedes. I am familiar with house centipedes. We had those growing up too. Um, I don't know if I should tell this story. If you're averse to bugs, this might not be a very fun story. But I definitely know of house centipedes. I can verify quite assuredly that the house centipede is a feature of America. So hey, at least you don't have to deal with house centipedes. We can count our blessings on that front. Hey, I can rest easy. Sweden doesn't have it, so go ahead. All right. So years and years ago, my family used to do like a 6-hour drive to visit family maybe once a month on the other side of the state. And We would take, a pretty famous highway to do it. And for whatever reason, one time we decided we weren't going to do the whole trip in one go. We were going to get halfway, stop at a hotel, along the side of the highway, and then do the second half in the morning. I guess we were, going out late. And we stop at a place called an Econo Lodge, which is, well, it's not the most high-end place to stop for the night. And this was all the more confirmed by the fact that when we got our room, we had to go in through the side entrance to the building. Okay, a little bit weird, but not the end of the world. When we open the side door to the first landing in the staircase, it wasn't even a staircase, it was just sort of a small concrete room that you needed to pass through to get into the main hallway. We see the entire bottom half of the room covered in centipedes. I'm not kidding, it was like a carpet of centipedes. Just everywhere you could look. And we had to crunch over top of the centipedes to get inside and get to our room. So that was, I'm not very picky about hotels anymore. I have seen worse. I have seen the depths to which a hotel can sink. Centipede room is not gonna be topped anytime soon. Knock on wood. I think... No. What I want to do is, instead, I want to go... We're pulling you down like that, going out, going further out. You know what? Fine. I'll take that. I can't imagine they could have stayed open much longer after that if there was many. Probably means they've been living there for a while. But you see, this is a random hotel on the side of the highway. I always check for bed bugs in hotels. They make me nervous. I mean, that's a fair check to make. Thankfully, when we got into the room, there were no major problems that I saw anyway. I don't know. My parents could have been hiding it from me. But, yeah, that was an experience that has not left me since. Who knows if they're still operating? It's entirely possible they could still be active today. Why does this sound like something that you would hear in Disco Elysium? Not that I'm complaining, I do love me some Disco Elysium. Let's go paint a little bit more just to flesh out this column. And then we'll we'll invert the selection and trim up the edges on this side. Well, now it's not like Disco Elysium. It fooled me for a second. Yeah, I heard years back France had a huge issue with that, I think. Like a huge infestation spread. What I feel like I heard about that too, but now I don't know where. I feel like that was big news at some point in the last however many years. But if you asked me right now, I couldn't tell you where or when or what was going on. So I guess they resolved the problem? One would hope. Never knew how to check for those, but then again, traveling isn't something I do, so I feel like I would know if my bed had them, you know? Don't you get like bites from them? Yeah, that's the thing, is that like they bite you and it's really irritating. Um you can see them. Like you just sort of, you know, check under the mattress, check on top of the mattress. If you see little bugs, there's probably bed bugs. Bugs in the bed, that's probably bed bugs. Did you see the news of mosquitoes being found for the first time in Iceland just this month? I did hear about that. I didn't know that mosquitoes had like no-go zones before this. I didn't know that there were regions of the planet that did not have to deal with mosquitoes. You know, like people had to get rid of basically all belongings due to not knowing if they had carried it with them. I feel like I remember seeing it all over social media. I mean, maybe you got exposed to that more because you're like on the same continent. Maybe that just didn't make it over here. But yeah, I feel like I heard about that once and then never again. You can learn from exterminators on the internet. Check the seams of the mattress. If you're getting bitten, it's already too late. Unfortunately, if you're getting bitten, it means there are bugs. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make life easy on myself and copy paste this antenna over there and just sort of mess with its proportions a little bit. Well, get over there. Looks about right. Bring you here. And then maybe I'll make you a little bit taller. Maybe like that. Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that. Right, I thought mosquitoes were just universally everywhere, but you're telling me some countries just live blissfully unaware of the struggles we other countries have had. Can we find an Icelander to talk to and ask them what it's like to live in bliss? Everything I hear about Iceland just makes me like it more. You mean to tell me that not only did you survive the 2008 financial crash relatively unscathed, that you have robust social welfare programs, you also don't have mosquitoes? Is this fantasy land? Iceland lost the status of it being one of the only places without mosquitoes, which is like karmic irony to me, but also a sign of bad climate change. Oh, yeah, also true. Very true. We. It's not fair, Kixie. You're absolutely right. It is not fair that Iceland has gone this long without mosquitoes. Imagine being able to camp or walk in nature and not worry of having a long freakish creature land on you and feast on thine blood. You know, when you put it that way, it is a lot more strange that mosquitoes exist. Okay, so another thing that's kind of nice right now with this stream as it's working is that I'm not having to refresh my captures every 5 minutes. I don't know what happened last time or what I did in between, but it's fixed now. I was taking a sip from my mug and my model froze, and I was like, did it happen immediately as I said it? No, my model just lost tracking. We're fine. Yeah, okay, so I've never been camping. I've always wanted to go camping, but I've never been camping. I did not think about how big of a problem mosquitoes would be out there. Yeah, no, thinking about it now, that's absolutely going to be a huge problem. Uh, God, no mosquitoes. Wow. Love how we both had the same 6 words to start off when reading Baw's comment. I mean, great minds think alike. We share good company, Matcha. When I was a kid, I would let them get fat on my blood, then flick them. They go splat. That is the most psychotic thing I have ever heard, Kixie. Wowee. Because like you're not supposed to let them get you, right? Because they can carry disease. Right? Okay, we're there. Let them get fat on my blood and then flick them so they go splat. That is unhinged. All right. Let me erase this edge so that it looks nice. Yeah. I camped once when I was like super young because we visited like some relatives, I think, but otherwise I'm just a huge nature walker and enjoyer and kind of hard to avoid when living in Sweden because it's like everywhere. Nature is everywhere. Nature is always there's always nature. Isn't that what vaccines are for? I guess, but well, I don't want to get too far into politics today, but you know America. Once they got you, it's too late. I really hated them, so it was revenge. Okay, I guess I can give you a pass on that. Insane. All right. I think we're about good on this. About good on this building. I think that's about as shapely as I want it to be. The other stuff, I'm trying to figure out where I want to go for. I feel like I want one more thing right here, like a tall structure, maybe. Maybe something, I don't know. That's the upside down of how a building goes. Maybe I just take a swipe at it. No, that's the cathedral. What? Why were you? All right, Automod. I need. We'll allow that. Yeah. Uh, the ones that sit in the tall grass. I know there's like specific ones that are for the diseases like mosquitoes or the other blood sucking ones might carry. Baw, do you want to know what Automod flagged you on? uh, it was specifically the phrase "sucking thing," and it flagged it for sex for sex-based content. Automod can be a little bit trigger happy sometimes. We have an ad coming in 3 minutes, everybody. Brace yourselves. How could it not understand that the word blood next to... Okay, fine, whatever. It was censored for you. Look, I make fun of Automod for being a little bit prudish sometimes, but truth be told, I would rather have an oversensitive Automod than an undersensitive one. So, you know what? You keep doing you, Automod. Don't let me harsh your vibe. Automod kind of dirty for that. What the heck? When I was talking about bugs, what a freak Automod is. It's cautious is what it is. It is erring on the side of caution. No vampires allowed on Twitch, I guess. Would if a vampire was real, Would VTube Studio be able to track their face? I ask you. This is what medieval philosophy was like. I just want one good shape to put over here. That's a sailboat. That's a good point. And also, yeah. Wait a minute. Lordling just admitted to being a vampire. Hang on. First of all, welcome, vampire. Second of all, do you know the answer to the question, can VTube Studio track your face? If we have a vampire in chat, I'm going to ask them so that we can answer the question. I feel like I'm closing in on something here, but it's not quite right. I've been called that a lot because I have those tendencies. I have no idea because I don't use those things. Fair enough. It remains a mystery to humanity. If vampire wore paint on their face, would they be able to see themselves since it's technically not just their own skin? Or is it regardless of what you wear, you can't see them? Oh my god. I'm gonna have to think about that. I mean, the reason why they couldn't be seen in mirrors was because they had trace amount of silvers, right? Because silver was considered a sort of pure, holy metal, and so it could not reflect the evil of the vampire. So if the webcams have silver on their lens, focal length, etc., then it probably won't. I'm also, it's like, because then would vampires be visible if they wore makeup? Right? Do the women vampires necessarily hide better because they will appear in mirrors because they're wearing makeup? I don't know. Unrelated, but related to the vampires, I saw a video of this recently where someone entertained the idea of why vampires couldn't be seen, and they delved into the history of mirrors containing silver, and that being the reason why. Yeah. It was like a symbology thing. All right, this tripod element says I'm not feeling it. Hang on. No, that's too slender. Oh, we have an ad break. Let's I'll wait for that to finish before I engage with the debate further. That's sort of, yeah, I can make that into something. If we imagine, okay, we're back. Community's back. I don't know either. I don't wear makeup. Well, I the one time we have a vampire in chat. Oh well, it happens. Only where the makeup is, so that would be a freaky reflection. Are the clothes seen in the reflection? See, this is the thing. I think they're not. Or are they? It would probably depend on the media. I feel like this must have been done so many times before. Imagine how ghastly that would look if you saw someone in the mirror and it was like just their makeup and they have no eyes. Yeah, you see like the inside surface of their face, like the back face of their makeup, and it's like, what the heck is happening here? That would be weird. I didn't say I was a good vampire, only I've been called as such. Well, fair enough. Whatever type of vampire you are welcome here in this chat. Don't think I ever got that far, but out of context, it sounds hilarious. I Googled it, and it looks scary, low-key. The invisible baby from JoJo. Yeah, okay, I haven't seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. That's not true. I've seen like 4 episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 1. I started from the beginning, and I know that the common advice is don't do that. But I did. And here we are. I did not I did not continue. You need to watch. Okay, you're very energized about that. No, I know it's like I know it's good. I needed to be able to sit down and get into it, and I just wasn't in the mind frame at the time, I guess. Don't listen to those people. Start from the beginning. Yeah, it's okay. So now I'm entering into now I'm entering into the fan debates. All right, with you. All right, you're pushed into the background. That's looking fine. I suppose I should paint the wall. That's how I'll push off having to draw the buildings. I'll paint the little pillars of the wall. It's all about pushing off the things you don't want to do. No, we will eventually have to get to the buildings. I think I have a vague idea of how I'm going to do those, but for now, I've seen up to part 3 or 4, I think. Not something I actively followed, but more so for the sake of the enjoyment of those that like it. I enjoy it, but some of the stuff is a bit scary, I will be honest. Scary in JoJo. That was not the impression I got from the first 4 episodes. Maybe it takes a turn at some point. What's worse is asking Fate fans where to start. The problem is that there's no correct answer to that. I think. I feel like the correct answer is play the visual novel. If you want to watch it, you can watch wherever you'd like. Season 1 and Season 2 are vastly different from Season 3 and onwards, but they're all charming in their own ways. Part 3 is my least favorite part. Really? Part 4 is my least, to be honest. Part 3 is down there, too. Okay. You're not selling me on this. You're talking about how 2 of the first 4, half of the beginning 4 seasons are not favorable and could be called least favorite parts. Yes, not scary horror, but scary like I wouldn't know how to describe it, but there's some visuals that are unsettling. All right. I think I get what you're saying. Sort of just eerie imagery. I love part 4. Okay, there's just no disagreement. Sorry, there's no agreement. Body horror. Okay. Yeah, no, that's horror. That counts as horror. All right. What are we going to call you? We're going to call you... Big buildings. I guess I should. Actually, you know, I'll just call this building silhouette. Building silhouette. Still don't know if I'm spelling that right, but we will persist. Body horror scary. I'm very sensitive to that sometimes because I see it and feel like I'm like, ugh. I'm interpolating the sound that you're making, so I'm just going, ugh. Let me know if that's the vibe that you're going for. If it helps you, we're both, at least from how I understand it, the opposite of how fans view part 3 and 4. Most fans love 3 and 4. Well, at first, love 3 and 4, while at first wasn't that well received, grew to be many people's favorites. I see. The you made sounds close to the Zora King going meep. That's not what meep. You've completely flummoxed me. Mweep sounds like it all. I don't see how you get from mweep. Accurate description, 10 out of 10, perfect. I pride myself on strange guttural noises. All right, so behind the buildings, but above the mountain multiply, we will have the wall. The tone, I mean? Oh, so it's like, weep. Now that just sounds like a frog. I know exactly which weep they talk of if I see it. It's like a grunt kind of weep. All right, so is it sort of frog sound like I just did? I missed the vampire combo, but does anyone know if the new Vampire the Masquerade game is good? I have heard mixed opinions on it. I have heard the general consensus that I've heard so far is that it's like a really cool world and story, but it's not super fun to play, which is kind of what I have heard of the first game as well. So maybe that's in the same vein. I don't know. Also, I have to quickly BRB because I must grab my laundry. Have a good laundry lurk. I shall speed. Do not rush. Take your time. Laundry deserves your proper attention. Time to go. Thank you for the stream and have a great day. Have a great day as well, Kixie. Good luck on your stream. I hope it goes well. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and week. And stay true to yourself, Kixie. Thank you for stopping by. Your company is always appreciated. Good luck, Ball, and great stream, Kixie. Yeah. So the Vampire Masquerade thing, it's always been sort of a cult classic, from what I understand. I don't know, maybe the move here is actually just to start with a rectangle and maybe warp it. Dare I attempt such a labor-saving exercise? Let's see. All right, so if we do that, and then maybe fill it. What the hell did I press? All right, fill that. I think that's roughly, how I want that to be. Let's see. Yeah, Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines is kind of in that zone of old immersive sim that becomes a cult classic. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna try and get dangerous here. Oh my god, that's literally as large as they let me go. Okay, we're gonna have to use our wits about us here. I don't think that's gonna work. I don't think that's the right way to do it. Maybe if I go into the tool properties, I might be able to bring hardness down. Ooh, I think that may be usable. Let's zoom back in and check the curve. I just want a very slight curve on this. You know what? I think I'll take that. Okay, let's get this liquefy back down to a manageable level. From there, I think the obvious thing to do here is to just rectangle. Just keep going with the rectangle tool. If I can create a consistent pillar thickness. Now, this is where my weakness as a structural engineer comes in. Can I do this? Oh my god, I think I can do this. Let's try and keep it relatively consistent. These prior suggestions were just that, suggestions. So let's get that out of the way so it's not even distracting us. And let's just keep going with this somewhat tedious practice, but I imagine it will be more consistent than trying to do it by hand. I could just move. And fill. And just keep doing that over and over again until I get a sort of fence-like. I suppose I should probably also figure out how far down I want it to go, because that's also sort of contributing to its general shape. How far down do I want the pillars to go? I should probably keep that somewhat consistent. Let's keep it right at the edge, just so that I don't have to worry about it. Come back here and do these real quick. Bonk there. Bonk there. Yeah, this one was way too short. Bonk. And we just fill in these pillars. Out of curiosity, Jazz, what is brought on the question of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines? Have you been seeing stuff about it? Have you been interested in playing it? Okay, that's also, that curve needs to be readjusted. Maybe I should just bring this side up a little bit. That might be a little bit more straightforward. Because, truth be told, I don't hear a lot about Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Outside of its fan base, it's kind of a niche franchise. Which, I mean, okay, I guess you could say that about any fan base. I never got to play the original, and it seemed like a very interesting and involved choice story game. Yeah, I think that is the impression that I got as well. It's frequently brought up as one of the best examples of the immersive sim genre. It is extremely choice dependent to the point where even like the type of vampire you choose to be at the beginning can radically change your experience of the gameplay. I think if you choose a certain like species of vampire at the beginning, like you literally are working with a different language through most of the game or something like that. And I was excited and surprised as it got a sequel, so I was hoping it was as cult classic as the original. I mean, what I have observed is that if people like the story of a game, they're willing to overlook some bad gameplay. And in fact, if the modding support is good enough, might even help you fix some of that bad gameplay. Right? There's a reason that Skyrim is still going strong after all these years. People really liked Skyrim. despite the fact okay, so I'm not a big open world guy. I've never been a huge fan of open world games. I did like Breath of the Wild, which is also the only Zelda game I've ever played. So maybe that game is just an exception. But otherwise, I find myself getting sort of, I don't know, lost isn't the right word. I find myself getting sort of choice paralyzed very quickly, or I don't know if it's even choice paralysis. It might just be that I get bored with no clear objective. Like, I usually, if I'm playing something in those games, I'm basically playing the main story. Okay, almost at the end. Unfortunately, I think kind of takes us like that. That's not the worst. All right. How does that look in aggregate? Not terrible. Somewhere in here, we're going to need to reconfigure this for the bridge. But for the time being, I think what I'll do is just make some last minute adjustments on the curve. You need to be more curved up that way, just for my own sanity. All right. I think that works for that. So let's turn you back on. Wow, okay, I've followed that pretty good. Figure out where this bridge is going and what we're doing with it. I've always struggled with Bethesda's games, to be honest. It's always felt that like there was too much agency, and I've spoiled the core quest lines because somehow I'm already 20 levels above the main line. You know, it could very well be that it's just Bethesda's games that I have a problem with. It could be. I granted the example that I'm using for open world was Skyrim because that's the one that I was most, I guess, familiar with attempting. So it could just be that if I tried other open world games, they would appeal to me more. I mean, I have a sample size of 2. It's Skyrim and no, sorry, 3. I have a sample size of 3. It's Skyrim, Fallout 3, and Breath of the Wild. 2 of which are Bethesda games, and they're the only 2 that I didn't like. So maybe that's the actual secret. Maybe I just don't like Bethesda games. I doubt I would be the only one. I know tons of people have had their issues with Bethesda and its game design over the years. Especially the fact that they are apparently, I didn't know this until recently, still using the exact same engine that they were using back in Oblivion. I I don't know what to tell you. I feel like that is something that should have been updated since then. Which is completely fair. I barely managed to beat Fallout 4 and Morrowind, and I struggle with their open worlds, with their other open worlds. Yeah. I'd like to see them try a non-open world, frankly. I'd like to see them try something different. I know that they were kind of, tacitly in charge of Arcane Studios back when they were still operating. But and I liked Dishonored. That didn't really feel like an open world to me exactly. I mean, it was in some respects. Jesus Christ, that's crazy. Yeah, it is. It is insane. Um, how am I going to handle this? I think I'm going to handle it like this. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to try and crank up the stabilization if I can. I feel like I should actually go from the middle. This is going to be the tricky part. I can already tell. Maybe I just... All right. That's usable, I think. But usable, we can do better than usable. Yeah, all right. Now we can bring the stabilization down a bit. Clean that up, maybe. All right. All right. I think that works. I wonder if... No, I think that would be kept level. Yeah. What was I talking about? Bethesda games. I've heard that they're still using the creation engine, which is what they used for Oblivion. They used it for Skyrim. They used it for Fallout 3 and 4, New Vegas, and now Starfield and Fallout 76. I feel like the age of the creation engine most showed itself in Fallout 76 because they tried to make a single player engine into a multiplayer engine and it caused a lot of problems. I don't even know. Is that game even fixed yet? Is that game even playable yet? Did they have their comeback moment like No Man's Sky or Cyberpunk? I don't know. Another thing that I'm going to need to address at some point is what am I doing with the gouge into the mountain? I feel like I need to work out that shape sooner rather than later. Or who knows? Maybe that's something I can work out in the highlighting section. New Vegas was actually made by Obsidian Entertainment, but it still kind of had the same effect as other Bethesda titles. Well, like they used the same engine, definitely. Like it was made by Obsidian Entertainment, but they used the creation engine that was, that had been used in Fallout 3. Because it kind of, I remember when it came out, I thought it was basically just like a DLC for Fallout 3. That's what I thought it was. Because it looked so similar to me. And that's because it was using the same engine. Right, so that's the main thing that's missing structurally is that foreground cloud that I haven't decided what I'm doing with yet. I guess now might be a good time to do the river. Let's see, where do I want this? I want this on top of, oh, first of all, you are labeled as wall. Wall, silhouette. You only lose wall silhouette, and then I think also above mountain multiply, we want a brand new layer that is more or less the color of the sky. And then we'll just sort of start roughing this in. And I have this brush set, whoop, hello, low battery warning. I have this brush set to change its radius, or I guess its size in this case, with pen pressure. So I'm kind of just pressing harder when I need a bigger stroke and pressing gentler when I need more precision. I think I'm just sort of adding some little whoops. All right, I'll come back for that later, I guess. Adding some things out in the distance. Little details. And as we get further away, the details get smaller. Potentially going off this way. I think I actually want the river to bend a little bit like that. It would not be inconceivable that this river would be flowing downhill from the mountain. In fact, that's probably how it would work. Gravitationally speaking, I think that makes sense for me to do it like that. And then sort of flows out into this main body of water. And so we can begin blocking in this shape. You're a little bit too round over here, I want. Maybe come in and erase some, nope, erase. Remember what an eraser is. Come in and grab some of this geometry like so. Make sure keeping our edges reasonably solid on the banks here because we're often seeing things covering other things. And that's how we indicate one object being in front of another is by a hard edge. Come in and clean up some of these edges over here. I think I might even zoom in to get some of these edge details. Do I have a hardness setting on this brush? No, but I have a brush density. I'll turn that up a little bit so that I'm getting more hard edges. It's easier to get hard edges when your brush density, or what might be called the flow, is actually at full. And I don't know, maybe that should be more like smooth down in the distance. Yeah, yeah. I think honestly, I might have even made this a little bit too narrow in this sector. Could even expand this out a little bit there. That's fine. Nothing's stopping me from doing that. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of like that. This bank is fine. I just sharpen up some of these edges. Only thing is, I think I want to add just a little bit more variation to this section. Not a fan of how this shape terminates at the dock. So maybe I'll just... Yeah. Yeah, I like that better. All right, I think that takes care of the river shape. So we'll label it as such. River shape. And how are we looking on the sketch layer? Or without the sketch layer, I should say. Pretty good. I think I want to maybe try roughing in something of these upper cloud shapes before it gets time to leave. Let's go. Okay, far clouds. Near clouds, I think I'm just going to put above far clouds just so that I can keep the clouds together. Near clouds. And let's see. Taking inspiration from our reference here, what sort of difference in value are we looking at? We're looking at some very bright stuff, almost pure white in some of these. Right, like this is, I think, almost pure white. Yeah. Got a little bit of color in there, but these, oh, this is much less saturated in these parts. Let's try and find a rough mid-tone here. This seems rough. Yeah, okay, that is almost middle gray now that I look at it in terms of value. So I think perhaps that might be what we attempt to replicate. What are you? You are not quite middle gray. You're like that. So if I come down here with, you know, something like, maybe I should bring the brush density down for painting clouds. Try and get some sort of wispier shapes. Maybe opacity as well. I don't know. I feel like the low opacity is just going to mess me up later. Let's bring that back to full opacity. Brush density being at like somewhere around 20 is probably where I want it. I'm going to go for the fact that we're seeing these clouds from basically the underside means that they're going to appear relatively flat to us, with some indication of structure up top. I don't know. Maybe I'll keep these clouds. Maybe I won't. I'm still kind of uncommitted. I might remain as such even to the end of the project. Honestly, even that feels a little bit dark. From mid-tone, that... Maybe, does this look better? That's too bright. That's... I don't know. Maybe I'll keep that just to have some blocking later. Just to have something up there. All right, I think We're actually nearing the end of what I need to hard block in here. We're now getting to the stage where I need to start actually rendering this out. No, I'm gonna try and block in the shape of the gouge in the mountain. I'm gonna try to do that. Oh, see, you're out of control. You're spinning too much. That's too many donuts. I'm not gonna be able to stop you. Nobody's gonna be able to stop you. On the it's Drift Lord C. Deja vu. I've just been in this place before. All right, what I'm gonna do above the mountain silhouette is I'm gonna try and start figuring out this gouge in the mountain. Nope, I want something darker. So I'm going to turn on a clipping mask so that I'm never going outside of the layer below it, which works similar to the lock alpha feature, but on the lock alpha feature, you're painting on the same layer, whereas a clipping mask, if I do this and then unclip it, all of that information is still there. So let us, actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to start shading. And again, we don't have to be precious about our exact values here because we can always come back and change the level of the values later on. What we're focusing on here is shape. What shape is this mountain and its light going to look like? I want this to come down. Actually, let's be a little bit rough, a little bit jagged, and come out. I think maybe I'll dip in a little bit right here. That's too. Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited to announce I have fresh warm clothes and fresh warm bed linen. Less excited to announce I will have to put the bed linen on, which honestly feels like a workout with the weighted blanket. Oh my god. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, no, a weighted blanket is going to be. Oh my god, that's going to be so much harder to put on. I've honestly never even thought about that as a thing that one would have to contend with weighted blankets. Godspeed, I guess, with the making of the bed and ensuing workout. We are shaping right now. We are doing shape language stuff. Maybe I'll start here like this. And then yeah, because the 6 kilograms of goodness I have to carry that isn't a box I could easily carry, but a blanket that flops around easily. Can you get a box for the blanket? I'm just spitballing here. Is there some, I don't know, included thing that you can get? They just gave you a blanket raw? Like, that's... Blanket box might be a cracked idea. See, I didn't see the word idea at first, so I thought you said, oh, they're coming for me. They found me. Uh, blanket box might be cracked as if under the weight of the blanket. They give you a blanket raw. I don't know how else to, like, I don't know. Unboxed? An unboxing blanket session? Is that what we have? I want the gouge to be noticeably jagged, but the rest of the hmm. Blanket alone could work, or uncased but raw is really good. I'm stealing that. Listen, that's my contribution to you. You can have that. I mean, it used to be in like a cloth sack. That's something, I guess. I don't know. I really feel like it. If it's that heavy, they should have some kind of carrying thing. I I don't know. Maybe this is just old man Atomica yells at clouds. Clouds being the packaging for a weighted blanket. Maybe we bring this in a little bit. It was rolled up like a sleeping bag originally when bought. Yeah, but you can never get those back into the original shape. That's impossible. I don't know. Maybe I want to like open this caldera up a little bit more at the top. I think it's called a caldera. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not the volcanologist. That would be my dad, apparently. I bet you got it in there through machinery. Ain't no way getting there by humans. Because it's 6 kilograms. It even it you've got the normal problems of trying to get a a cloth roll back into its original bag, but then you've got the added problem of it's 6 kilograms of blanket. I mean, I don't mean to be a pessimist, but I feel like you're fighting an uphill battle. I'll be out here sleeping luxury style with one regular duvet and the weighted blanket. Girl, you are warm at night. You are warm at night. I uh I honestly sometimes am barely able to stand just having a standard duvet comforter. I don't know. I don't know. That shape feels weird to me. And unfortunately, 3 pillows. I say for the fact that I need many cases. What do you mean? I don't think I understand. Do you have 3 pillows each with a case on it, or you have 3 pillows each with 3 cases? And it's still cold. That's the crazy part. 3 pillows, each needing a pillowcase. Okay, okay. I say for the fact I need many cases. Gotcha. Yeah, okay. I follow. I'm back up to speed. Yeah, it's I. Oh, hold on. That was almost cool. I almost like the detail that I got from that. And then I think by the time we get down to here, we're basically level. Now, this is not, dear audience, snow that I'm painting right now. It's just sort of trying to get some shapes out in the ground so that I can have a sense of what this mountain is shaped like. And then I think you would be like so. Yeah, but you're still cold, despite everything. That's, I think, do you have like a, do you have like a heating system or are you purely relying upon the linens? Because I've seen it done both ways. I've seen people try and just rely on the linens. All right, I think we're getting closer to me liking this caldera here, but it's not quite there. In winter, I usually sleep in a hoodie, a fluffy blanket, duvet, and weighted blanket. And you're still cold. You know what? You're in Sweden. Sweden is a cold place. I don't know why that surprises me. I rely on linen. Heating is expensive in terms of electricity. That's also true. I I don't think I have ever lived in a place as cold as Sweden. I would need to check the meteorological records to be sure. Hmm. I don't want these to be quite as sharp down here. I want them to have some taper to them, but I don't think I want them to be that rough. I usually microwave a rice pillow and put under the blankets, and it traps the heat for most of the night. I'm going to need to ask you, what is a rice pillow? I have never heard that term before. Actually, while I'm down here, I might as well, because this is all going to be roughly this value as well. I don't mind a little bit of variation in the topography here, but let's see. Eh, little things here and there. I've never heard of a rice pillow. Is it just like, is it made of rice? Like imagine a pillow shape, but a lot smaller and kind of long, and it's filled with rice. You can often use it to heat up and put on where your body hurts, or alternatively keep you warm. Okay, yeah. I think I would normally have used the word hot pad for that, but the hot pads that I've used don't have rice in them. So yeah, rice pillow. That makes sense. It is exactly what it says on the tin. All right, looking back here, I think I've basically got the gist of the, you know, further structure of these sort of hill variations here. I just wonder how I can make it look less sharp when the time comes, but that's maybe getting ahead of myself. Yeah, I think I can always come back and erase some of this value later. That's fine. Okay, we're getting down to 10% battery and about almost 3 hours here. So I think this is a good place to maybe stop. And let me save. Hold on. Should have been saving throughout this entire process, but I think that's a good place to call it for today. Being that anything further that I would want to do here basically just be fiddling around with these shapes a little bit more, which I think is probably better done in the rendering stages. So I think we've gone from a sketch to a shape block in here. At least a rough shape block in. Most of these shapes are going to change once we start rendering and doing things a little more carefully with color and such. So I think this is a good place to call it. I think we've reached a good stopping point. Literally looks so cracked, it's really good. Thank you so much, Paul. And in fact, this mountain is literally cracked right here down the middle. So your eyes do not deceive you. So I think next time, what we'll work on is maybe adding some of the detail to the structures. We're finally going to have to start painting in some of the buildings down here. And maybe adding some more natural detail to the mountain geometry. And then maybe address what sort of technology or buildings are going to go in the massive hole in the mountain. So yeah, I think that is a plan. Let's check and see who is online at twitch.com right now that we can raid. I thought I saw... I did see. I saw Floofy Boo raid us. Not raid us. I saw Floofy Boo go online. My brain is breaking down. It's clearly time to raid. So, what say we go over and say hi to Boo, a good friend? Let us do that. Back to... I like the bridge edition. I like it too. Oh, I'm just looking at it now. I'm gonna need to change some of the proportions there. That's fine. I'll notice that immediately when I come back next time. The geometry is messed up there a little bit. That's fine. That's an easy fix. Thank you for drawing my attention to that, Chaz. No, I'm gonna snooze that ad actually, so that we can begin the raid. So, I'll get the raid messages out. Pick whatever raid message you want. Today, I'm going to go with the knowledge one. And we are going to get raiding Luffy. Ooh, I think that's with an underscore and 2 capitalizations. Perfect. I got it in one. Very knowledge stream today. Yeah, we learned so many things about food and vampires and all manner of things. And we got pretty good progress on our painting here. I like the way these shapes are coming out a lot. So yeah, I think we've built ourselves a good base for the next stages. Thank you for streaming. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. I'm going to get the raid started. I need to thank you all once again for joining me on this very chill and much needed art stream. It was a good wind down from the week. It was a long week. I didn't even get to tell you guys about the week I had. Remind me next time. I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you about it then. Because the raid's already started. We're going to be probably continuing with this again next week, making further progress on the rendering and some of the details, and we're probably going to add color next week, which is going to be very fun and exciting. I hope to see you all again. Next week we're going to be streaming at the same time in the same place, right here on this channel at 1 p.m. EST. I hope to see you all there. If not, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, a wonderful rest of your week. And as always, stay true to yourselves, everyone.